Today we're going to look at combining two ideas we've talked about before. That is algebra, where we solve equations, with shapes, perimeters, and areas, where we have some sort of shape. The challenge today is we aren't going to know what the sides or the measures of each shape happen to be. That's what we're going to try and figure out using algebra. So I don't have any new math for us today. The math is old. We're just going to have to review how to apply these or push these two things together. So start off with a nice one. The perimeter of the triangle shown is 75 meters. Determine the length of each side. So here's our keyword, perimeter. Perimeter is the distance around a shape. P equals. Okay. If I want to find the distance around a shape, I've got to add up all my sides. Well, in that case, my sides are 3x plus 4 plus 2x plus 3 plus 2x minus 9. There's all my sides. And we've done this question before where I just said, okay, let's find an expression for it. But today the difference is they actually told us what the perimeter is. In other words, they're telling us what it equals. So today I can actually put the 75 in for my perimeter. And that's our new idea. Well, if I have this equation where I have numbers on one side and letters on the other, I can actually solve for x. How do I do that? Well, let's take all the numbers and move them over with the 75. So I can bring the plus 4 over, become a minus 4. The plus 3 over, minus 3. The minus 9 over becomes a plus 9. And keep all the letters together on the right-hand side. And if we collect our like terms on the left side, I get 77. On the right side, I get 7 x's. But I don't really want to know 7 x's, I want to know 1 x. So divide by 7. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other, and x is 11. In other words, to make this equation come out, the perimeter to come out to 75, x must be 7. Well, if I know that, I can actually figure out the length of each side now. How do I do that? Well, this expression says I need 2 x's. And we said x was 11. So I can replace the x with 11 and then add 3. If we do BEDMAS, 2 times 11 makes 22, plus 3 makes 25. I've just figured out that this side is 25 meters long. I can do the same thing up here. 3 times 11 plus 4, so 3 x's. 3 times 11 is 33, plus 4 makes 37 meters. And the last one, 2 11s take away 9, so 22 minus 9 gives me 13 meters. I figured out the length of each side, not knowing how big they were, but just knowing how big the entire shape was. Okay, so similar ideas to what we've done before. Collect all your like terms, solve things. But the trick is to start, you need to know how big the entire shape is. I get you guys to try one. So pause it, see if you can figure this one out. The perimeter of the rectangle below is 36 meters. Determine the length of each side. So basically the same question, but it's a rectangle this time. So what do I know? It tells me the perimeter is 36. So I can start off by saying 36 equals. Here's my perimeter right there. What sides do I have? I have an x. I have an x plus 6. I have another x. I have another x plus 6. Okay, there's an equation that can be solved. Numbers on one side, so let's bring the 6 over and make it minus 6. Let's bring the 6 over and make it minus 6. I've got a whole bunch of x's. X plus x plus x plus x. What does this actually give us? It gives us 24 on the left side and 4 x's. Don't forget these all have 1's in front of them on the right side. We don't want no 4x, we want a 1x. But if I divide one side, I have to divide the other side. X is 6. So I've got my x, but I'm not done the problem. The problem was determine the length of each side. Well, if x is 6, then that makes this 6 meters. That's a nice one. It's just x. And this one becomes 6 plus 6, which is 12 meters. I'm replacing the x with the 6 that we know. And there we go. We've got the length of each side. Okay? Right, perimeter, they all work the same. Write down all the parts and pieces, add them all together, and write down what it has to equal, what they tell you in the question. But we can't just do perimeter, we can also do area questions. The area of a triangle is 120 meters squared. How tall is it, given that its base is 15 meters? So here's our hint. We're going to use our area formula, right? What do we know in this formula? Well, A is area. In the question, it tells us the area is 120. So I can start by writing down 120 instead of A. That's my A value. Equals. It then says to take base and height and multiply them together. Well, if they tell me the base is 15, I can do 15 times the height. Oh, I don't know the height. I need the letter H in there, divided by 2. Well, this is a formula. I can solve for the missing part. So how am I going to do this? I think the easiest way is to deal with the numbers first. Let's take 15 and divide by 2. What does that give us? That gives us 7.5 with an H attached to it. We haven't done anything to 120, so we'll leave it 120. But we don't want 7.5H. We want H. How do I get it? I divide by 7.5. Whatever I do to one side, I got to do to the other. 120 divided by 7.5 comes out to 16. Hey, we just figured out the height. Therefore, the height, I haven't done this in a while, of the triangle is 16. What kind of units do we have? It was meters. Okay, so use your formula, replace the letters with the numbers that you know, and solve. And we're going to try another one. The area of the rectangle below is 365. How long is each side? So I know it's a rectangle and I know the area. So let's take our formula for a rectangle and fill in what we know. We know it's 365. All right, our length and our width. Well, if I look at my diagram, I've got these two things and they have to be multiplied together. How do I do that? Well, I put 5 times 3x plus 13. That's how I multiply things together, right? I put them in brackets and I times them. But we don't really like brackets. We've always said, let's get rid of brackets. Let's expand brackets. 5 times 3 makes 15x's. 5 times 13 makes 65. Now I've got an equation that's got no brackets in it. How do we solve it? Well, we put numbers on one side. Take this one and move it over here. Does the opposite. The letters on the other side. Let's collect our like terms. So 365 minus, that's a nice one, that's just 30. I'm sorry, 300. I don't want 15 x's, I want just an x. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other, and hey, x is 20. What was the question? Do I want to know what x was? No, I want to know how long each side is. Well, we already know one side. One side's 5. Told us that one. The one I didn't know was made up of 3 x's and then 13. So 3 x's and then 13. So I got 60 plus 13. Hey, this side must be 73 centimeters long. Area for rectangle is slightly more challenging in this case because we had an expression. We had to remember to multiply them together. Okay, but really kind of like the one we did before, right? Where we had to solve something. It's all about solving. Okay, last one and get you guys to try it. I think you can do it. I just want you to think about it for a second. Determine the length of each side in the polygon below, given that its perimeter is 70. Okay, so I've gone back to perimeter. What do I know about perimeter? Perimeter is when I add all my sides together. Well, what sides do we have? If I start here, I've got an x minus 2, and then an x plus 3, and then an actual number, 13, and then an 11, and then x plus 6, and then 9. I know if I add them all together, I get my perimeter, but they actually told me the perimeter. It's 70. Is 70. Well, this is an equation to solve. Do I have any brackets to get rid of? No. Any fractions to get rid of? No, I just can collect things on one side or the other. So what do we have for x's? I got 1, 2, 3 that I see. 1, 2, 3. And I got a whole bunch of numbers. They need to go to the other side. The minus 2, plus 2. The minus 3, sorry, plus 3, minus 3. The 13, minus 13. Minus 11. Oh, a whole bunch of numbers here. Minus 6. Minus 9. Okay, collect them up. I got 3 x's. If I tip all those in my calculator, I got 30. But I don't want 3 x's, I want x. Whatever I do to one side, do to the other, and x is 10. Okay, what was the question? Was it say find x? No, it said find the length of each side. So which sides do I already know? I know 11, I know 13, I know 9. What am I missing? I want the top up here, so 10, take away 2, that one's got to be 8. This one's 10 plus 3, so it's got to be 13. This one over here is 10 plus 6, it's got to be 16. I've got all the missing sides. Okay, there's area and perimeter with algebra. Solving problems now, which we like to be able to do in math using some skills that we've learned. Give the sheet a try. It's mostly perimeter questions like this last one. If you're stuck on it, it doesn't make sense, come see me and we'll talk about it and figure it out.